Want to transform raw text into a title, headings, and entity list with just a few lines of code? You'll see how to declare a DSPy, predict module with a signature that maps input text to 3 outputs: a title string, a list of headings, and a list of entity dictionaries. Then call it on a sample news snippet. The code prints the raw response fields, showing exactly what the module returns for each output type. Text equals Apple Inc. announced its latest iPhone 14 today. The CEO, Tim Cook, highlighted its new features in a press release. Module equals DSPy, predict, text title headings, list SDR, entities and metadata, list dict SDR, SDR. Response equals module, text equals text. Print response, title. Print response, headings. Print response, entities and metadata. This demonstrates the declarative module pattern in DSPy, where a simple string signature defines both input and output structure for language model interactions. The code shows how DSPy, predict, creates a callable module from a text-to-multiple field signature, returning a response object with attributes matching the declared output fields. The key distinction is how the signature string directly determines the accessible attributes of the response. The pattern works by treating the signature as an execution contract that shapes the response object. When invoked with input text, the module returns an object where each declared output field becomes a directly accessible attribute through dot notation. This approach abstracts away the underlying prompt construction and response parsing, letting you work with the results as native object properties rather than raw model outputs. This matters because it provides a clean interface between your code and language model outputs. The signature defines what fields you expect to work with, and the module handles the transformation from model response to structured attributes. The trade-off is that you must trust the model to generate outputs that align with your declared structure, as there's no explicit validation or transformation logic in this basic example. Let's break it down line by line. Text equals Apple Inc. announced its latest iPhone 14 today. The CEO, Tim Cook, highlighted its new features in a press release. This assigns a sample news text string to the text variable. The content includes company names and product references that will be passed to the predict module for processing. Module equals DSPy, predict, text title headings, list SDR, entities and metadata, list dict SDR, SDR. This defines a DSPy, predict module with a signature that maps input text to 3 outputs: a title string, a headings list, and an entities and metadata list of dictionaries. The signature declares the expected output structure, but doesn't implement any processing logic. Response equals module, text equals text. This executes the predict module with the input text, triggering the defined signature, text title, headings, entities, and metadata. The result is stored in response for later inspection via the print statements. This is the actual prediction call that processes the input according to the declared signature. Print response title. This outputs the generated title from the prediction result. The code simply prints the raw string value assigned to that field by the predict module. Print response headings. This outputs the headings list returned by the prediction module, displaying the raw extracted values from the input text. It shows how to access individual fields from the module's response object. Print response entities and metadata. This prints the raw entities and metadata field from the model's response object. The output shows exactly what the DSPy, predict, call returned for this field, letting you inspect the unprocessed dictionary list structure. Useful for debugging what the model actually generated before any post-processing. DSPy predict module basics. This code initializes a DSPy, predict module with a simple text-to-structure signature, then executes it with a hard-coded input string. The response objects fields, title, headings, entities, and metadata are directly accessible as attributes, exactly matching the signature's declared output format. You must declare all expected output fields in the signature before calling the module, or they won't appear in the response.
The adapter that translates everything speaks in silence.